Aseo, Ryan Walters, and I'm joined in the K-League United bunker, for want of a better name. Comment names, we want them. With Paul Neat, Matthew Binns, we're back. If you're just tuning in, we just finished up talking about all of the 10 K-League Challenge teams, the transfer news that's going on with them, key signings, everything else, and we're going to do the same thing for K-League Classic. So, if you're just now tuning in, unlike Challenge, we're going to spend 2 minutes this time talking about each of the K-League Classic teams and their notable transfers and everything else. But before we get into the team-by-team rundown of things, there was a slightly big signing this week that happened that I think we should talk about.
That's right. The capital of Dayan Minguk has moved from Seoul to Suwon.
Yes.
Got to be the most shocking transfer in K-League history, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I wrote about this a little bit on the site this week. I think it's a statement of intent from Daeon, and we talked about it a little bit off camera before we came on. There was interest from Jeju, who's an ACL. There was interest from Ulsan, who's an ACL. He went to Suwon on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as black and white as that. I think the location plays into it a lot.
That's true.
Yeah,
obviously, if it was just about ACL football, then yes, he would have gone to Jeju.
Well, he would have gone to somewhere where he could win ACL.
Well,
let's be honest.
Like John Button.
Hi, Scott.
But no, but he's purely located. It's not purely location based. There is a revenge element to it, I think. But I think, he's got his kids in school here. He lives in Seoul. I think he wanted to be playing a club that A could afford him there. Suwon's got Santos and off the books now, and Jonathan off the books. Incheon can't afford him. He's not going back to Incheon. He's not going to drop to Songnam, is he? And also, if he goes to any of those clubs, FC Seoul fans will be up in arms. You traitor, and it's.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think if he went to any other classic team, then fans would probably understand a bit better. But because it is Suwon.
I mean, we're sitting here looking at it. It's still weird.
It's still strange.
Just look at him in that case.
Even seeing the mock-ups people made, like the Photoshop pictures of him in a blue shirt, it was still a bit surreal. It was very strange.
This is the year for the red kit. This is when they need to bring back the tricolor red kit, right? So, I mean, so obviously we've all talked about it a little bit. Like, what was... It was in the works for a little while, so not when it was official, but when you first heard... Matt, what was your immediate reaction when you first heard Suwon of all teams?
I was shocked, obviously. Everybody was shocked, I think. But I was shocked, but I was kind of like shocked and expected. I was like, yeah, I can see that. Like, even though it's so shocking, it's a move that I could see just him just going, go Suwon, kind of thing. And given the player's character and things, it just made... shocking, but made sense almost. And
I mean, I do wonder whether he likes playing the pantomime villain, perhaps, and to go because obviously he, being quite a strong character that he is, playing for FC Seoul, he would have got a lot of not abuse, but let's say interesting comments from away supporters.
Yes.
Going from Seoul to Suwon is just like the ultimate heel turn, isn't it? Like pantomime villain sort of thing. So
I liked how you put it on Twitter that he was kind of already the villain at Seoul.
Yeah.
Because,
everybody hates Seoul,
not
apparently.
Many people like Seoul, right? So is this a face turn for him?
Yeah.
Is this when Hulk Hogan dropped the NWO shirt and put back on the red and yellow of old?
I say it's hard to really figure out heel or babyface, but it's interesting, very, very interesting. And even he said in interview this week that it means the super match will be very interesting. I can't wait for that one. I hope the first one's up here in Sangam. I hope it is.
Let's hope that schedule comes out soon, and if they have that the first weekend,
please. I don't think they will.
No,
but hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Whilst it's still raw and people are still feeling it.
And like you said, have it up here in Seoul. Yeah, spoiler alert: the bunker's in Seoul. That's the one thing you can know about the location.
Yeah.
But I think. And before we move on from it, and we're going to get into all the teams, but I think from an aspect of somebody that covers this league, this is great.
No, it's fantastic.
This is the kind of drama that was missing from the league last year. I think there were a lot of really good things that happened last year. There were a lot of really talented, really exciting players that emerged last year. But overall, the league, I think, kind of felt like a little bit of a step back from a really exciting 2016.
Yeah.
You know, like what made 2016 exciting we can argue about, but last year was a bit of a step back. This kind of drama, I think, makes it much more interesting.
Well, it's put all eyes back on the K-League again. You know, a lot of the transfer activity that had shocked or wowed people outside of Korea was players going to the Chinese Super League. Now, obviously that'll always happen because of the name that they can draw. But having a bona fide K-League legend like Dayan move to the team where he made his legendary status at, move to their biggest rivals, you don't get much more dramatic than that. And it's shaking everything up because obviously Suwon, it's not been confirmed officially yet, but Jonathan's left to go to the Chinese Super League, so that was a huge blow for the league in terms of the league losing a quality player. There's no doubt that he's a quality player, but having him stay in the league for a start, because obviously his contract ran out with Seoul, stay in the league, one thing, and also just go to the biggest rivals. It's just it's huge drama.
Well, yeah, Matt, you had something else.
No,
Sorry.
I was going to say the same. It's just it's perfect. It's brilliant for the league. We can't. This is a league where we're not going to get the Tevezes and.
Well, apparently that
that's probably a good thing,
bullet
but you know what I mean.
apparently,
Like, we're not going to get these big moves like the Chinese Super League is attractive, but this league has got narratives. It has got story, and this is the kind of stuff that it wants. Look, for once, you go onto Naver Sports pages. It was all Dayan.
Yeah.
But for once, K-League was front and centre. It's brilliant. It's a move I fully support. I'm not a Suwon fan. I'm not a Seoul fan, but I absolutely love this move. Absolutely think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think, it's narrative, and I think, this has come out in the press already. There was conflict between him and manager Hong Sun-ho. Yeah. That's well known. Without getting into the ins and outs of that, just knowing that that's there, going into those super matches, ooh, this is a tasty matchup now. And it already was.
Well, to have the audacity to suggest to a legend like him to retire,
who scored 19 goals last year, tied for second best in the league, scored 19 goals last year, and you told him, why don't you retire?
You have the cheek to say, just retire, mate.
Yeah,
he was never even thinking about retirement a year ago. No. Never mind now. So now he'll be fired up. He wanted to prove to FC Seoul that they should have kept him, and also that he still got it. I mean, you don't think he needs to, having scored 19 goals last season. You don't think he would need to have to go and prove it, but I'm sure there'll be a fire lit under him now. And with the squad that they're putting together, Suwon, which we'll go into a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, we'll move on, and we're going to come back to Dayan in a little bit, because, I mean, this is huge news. Speaking of huge news, while we were at the break between our challenge and classic videos, we saw that another high scorer this year, Kim Dong-hyun, is on the move. Yang Dong-hyun,
I didn't know who that was then for a second.
Sorry. Had a huge year for Pohang.
Yeah.
Couldn't seem to find his way into the national team. He's on his way over to Japan, so we'll touch on that when we get to Pohang. But first, there are some questions that came in.
Well, questions and comments. Hi, Scott.
Scott Whitelock, our Suwon columnist.
Is Jay Seymour watching, or is Alias watching?
Scott might also enjoy being a heel in wrestling terms.
I think Scott will love that, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about wrestling. Anyway,
Scott said that he likes that Suwon are the Leeds United of the K-League, in the sense that they are universally hated.
That's a reference that all people watching will get.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Sorry.
Daniel.
Hey, I'm a big Leeds United fan.
So Daniel Croydon saying Suwon have managed to bury that Jonathan transfer. Clever business.
Yes and no, I think. I mean, I think Jonathan was hands down the best player in the league last year. I don't think Dayan had a strong year last year, but you can't say he was hands down the best player in the league. But narrative, PR-wise, yes, they did. So yeah, agree.
Well, the thing is about Jonathan though, and Dayan. Dayan's more of a team player than Jonathan is. Jonathan will win you games. He's a match winner. He's a difference, and he's audacious, and he's very cheeky, very, very confident. But Dayan was more. He would be more involved with the build-up of a goal. He got a decent amount of assists last year. I think
that's true.
About five assists. So it's a bit different. But yeah, Jonathan's transfer. First of all, the fee. They will have reinvested that. They got him Dayan on a free, and then they've spent money elsewhere already. They're probably not even dented into half of that transfer fee that they got from Jonathan's sale. Sorry.
Yeah. So Scott says, does this mean that Suwon are officially bigger than Seoul, at least for a season?
We'll talk about that a little bit.
Matt Lee, Suwon has always been a bigger club than Seoul. Well, Tim has come in, but it's a question about Incheon. We will be coming to that later, Tim, when we get very shortly, actually.
That one very soon.
Yeah, so to go over the setup again, sorry, we got a little tangential here, but this is, I think in the time that we've been covering the league, easily the biggest transfer within the league that we've seen.
Well, they broke the K-League internet. Literally, FC Seoul's website went down because of the traffic it received from angry FC Seoul supporters.
Which, so we'll get to that. Yeah. As a reminder, what we're going to do right now, we're going to go, unlike in Challenge, we did it alphabetically. This time we're going to start at the bottom of the table and work our way up to the top. We're talking about transfers, so notable moves that have been made, and also some team needs, because in spite of all of the moves that have been made, the transfer window only officially opened yesterday. So there's still a really long time. I believe this window goes until the end of March. So there's a ton of time for teams to get their squad together preseason, and then also to tweak things a little bit after some games start. So we're going to spend 2 minutes on each team, starting at the bottom of the table, working our way up, talking about transfers, and also, because why not, we're going to give each team a New Year's resolution. Hopefully you didn't forget yours already. Hasn't been a week yet. So hopefully you've still got that in mind in your losing 5 pounds. What do people... What?
Quit smoking.
Hopefully,
Put the cigarette down.
Yep.
No, put it down.
Cut back on wine.
Cut back on wine is not a New Year's resolution for everybody.
Okay.
So, moving on. Matt's gonna time us here. And... so we're going to start out with the team that is back in Classic for the first time in a while. One of the mainstays that was there for a really long time, and we don't need to go into why they weren't there for a little while. So that's Gyeongnam. They are back up after just absolutely owning Challenge last year. For me, the biggest transfer for them wasn't a transfer at all. It's the fact that their striker, Macau, if I'm saying that correctly, Macau, he decided to stay. He had 22 league goals last year in Challenge. There was a lot of interest from the usual suspects, unnamed Chinese club. There was also some interest in Japan. So really big that he believes in this project enough to stick around, because a lot of players, I think, they would get that one big year and they would cash in. So I think it says a lot about what's going on down in Gyeongnam. Also notable that they lost Jung Hyun Chol to FC Seoul, who, talking to our James Edrupt, was someone that was pulling a lot of the strings in that midfield and was really a big reason why they were such a juggernaut last year. So that's a really big hole to fill. And looking at their transfers, I think they've gone a really interesting route in that they have some foreign player spots taken up by people that haven't really done much yet. So they have Japanese striker Kunimoto. I'm just going to say his last name because I know I can get that. He's 20 years old. He played in J2 last year. Not much of a resume so far. They also brought in a Brazilian forward. He's 25 years old. Neguiba? I don't know. Again, sorry, my Portuguese is terrible. He's played 7 years, but again, he hasn't had a huge breakthrough year. So these are 2 foreigner spots that they've decided to take up with players that, oddly enough, have resumes very similar to what Marcau's was. So I think going into this year, it's going to be really interesting to see if Gyeongnam either has the most brilliant, genius scouting staff, or if they got lucky. So that'll be really interesting. As far as team needs, I think this is a team that's going to need a playmaker, because I have 4 seconds to tell you why. They have offensive talent, obviously, because they scored a lot of goals last year, and they just need someone to pull strings.
Perfect. Hollywood ending from the American.
69 goals in 36 matches last year, so they weren't struggling to score. All right. So we're going to end each segment with a New Year's resolution for each club. So my New Year's resolution for them, it's really simple. You're back in Classic for the first time. Finish mid-table. Okay. Stay away from that relegation scrap heap. Finish mid-table. I think that's a good goal for them.
As with any newly promoted team, survival will do.
Yeah.
I want to say something different, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Just harness ride that crest of a wave that they have from promotion, because clearly there's a lot of feel good about the club at the moment.
Yeah.
Mark, like I said, Mark Alstade, just harness it. I said it before in the other video, but just harness that enthusiasm and that. Really, really take a moment to appreciate that they are back in the classic. It's been a few years now, so
yeah, and for groundhoppers out there,
lovely stadium,
lovely away day. That's one of my favorite stadiums in the league down in Channam.
Yeah, so if you your club get them away in the spring or the summer or the early fall, perfect.
Great ground, and then you can go over to Busan after. Not that it's not lovely to stay there. Anyway, moving on to the first team ever to win the promotion relegation playoff coming from the Classic. That's the very strong military side Sangju Sangmu, and I believe, Paul, you have these guys.
Actually, I believe it's me.
Matthew.
Okay, so Sangju Sangmu were the first to survive, as we said before. Last season they were. The problem with military teams, as we've always said and repeating ourselves, they always get cut September time. Sangju once again suffered September time. Loads of about 20 players went back to their parent clubs. And they were a bit weak at the central defensive areas. I thought the two Songnam players playing in central defence were not strong enough. They've recruited well. Now, as we've pointed at Asan before, Lee Myung-ju has gone to Asan, and a lot of other big names, Komu, Yeoju, Sejong, gone to Asan. That means Sangju getting the first pick should really have bigger names. Now, we've got Kim Min-woo from Suwon, the left back. And left back goes up to left wing as well. He's performed well, did well at the East Asian Cup recently. We've got Yoonbik Garam, who came back to Jeju for this military service. Shim Dong-eun from Pohang, also very instrumental in that Pohang team, very good at assists. So we've got some attacking players there, some good attacking talent. Not much still, though, in defensive options. The closest we've got is Lee Sang-hyuk for Incheon, but he sometimes plays central midfield. But yeah, it could strengthen that spine.
So yeah, perhaps the same problems are going to persist next year. Then.
Perhaps they will, but they're going to be good in attack. So it's going to be if you score one, we'll score two. I'd imagine. Headline names, but not necessarily the ones they need. So it's going to be interesting, I think, for Sangju. And I'll give you my resolution because I'm coming to the end of my time. And my resolution was, quite simply, for the sake of Son Heung-min and the national team's long-term future, don't get relegated.
Yeah.
Because if they get relegated, that's where we're going to have a Premier League player in the second tier. If he doesn't get exemption. If he doesn't get exemption.
We could still win the Asian Cup. Asian Games, sorry?
Yeah.
Asian Games.
Which exactly a year from today, I believe, is when they start. Or no, yesterday. The AFC had out a social media blast about that we are exactly a year away from the Asian Games. Which South Korea finished second in last time to Australia, down in Australia.
No. Sorry, you mixed. That's different. Asian Games is in the.
That was sorry.
The athletics. That's going to be at the end of the summer, early autumn. You're talking about the Asian Cup.
Yes. The names are
a lot of different tournaments, competitions in the region.
But back to Sangju, your New Year's resolution for them
would be similar to Asan in the sense that with the quality recruits that they bring in now. Make sure that you use them properly.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, when they lose the crop of players next season, that's when things start to go wrong. Like they did last season when they were in the relegation playoff. So use the players wisely whilst you have them.
Yeah. For me, kind of similar, very similar to yours actually. Help Ju Min-gyu shine. Ju Min-gyu is a tremendously exciting player, just ruthless finisher. Really fun to watch, and he's coming to the end of his military stint, so his parent club is Seoul Eland, so he could be heading back to Challenge, and maybe they'll be in a spot where that's a good thing, but I think it'd be really great to finally see him get his crack at the national team, which probably isn't going to happen in a World Cup year, but man, he's an exciting player to watch, so hopefully Sangju can help him shine a little bit.
Okay, well, do you want to quickly catch up on the comments before we go any further?
We'll just leave this lovely crust in the background.
Kim Jong-soo says he loves Chicago Fire.
Hey, there's another one. All right. Dozens of us.
Matt Lee, in reference to Gyeongnam, said mid-table would be tough, but survival would be sufficient. So agreeing there. Daniel Croydon thinks Sangju do have the worst name possible. Well,
Sangju?
Sangju.
Worse than Ansang Green is?
There's I believe you wrote about this on the site. There was an interesting kerfluffle for a little bit about their team name because of sponsorships and city names of all. But just you can check it out on the site.
Seems to have been resolved. And Matt Liesel said Sangju's bringing mad quality midfielders. But what about their centre backs? Yeah, as we touched upon before, their centre backs. They're two Songnam players in central defence. I think one of them is actually coming to the end of his service.
Yeah,
they look questionable, and that cost them when their players went. They got really exposed. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do think they're going to just have to go on the attack.
To be honest, I thought their central defence was what was going to cost them against Busan in that playoff final. I think we all kind of pegged them for that. So that's a really good shout. And hopefully that midfield can kind of help shield that back line a little bit. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yes.
Speaking of interesting to watch, I hope. Up next, unfortunately, are the Jeonnam Dragons. I say unfortunately because they had a very uncharacteristically poor year last year. Some notable departures have already happened for them. Robert Fekajin there was a mutual agreement that he left. He scored 10 goals, which isn't a bad return, but I think for me watching him, he was maybe the best player in the league at getting position and maybe one of the worst at finishing when he was in those spots. He could have easily had 20 goals last year if his finishing was more on point. So I think that was a wise decision from the Dragons there. Also, Hyun Young Min, the last of the 2002 World Cup players, retired this year. I think that was the right decision for him, obviously at the end of a legendary career, but he was just a step or two slow. So this is finally a new manager's team. This is Yu Sang-chul's team now, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of shape he wants them to take after so many years of No Sang-rae, which didn't go so well. Also, as per Tim Lee's reporting from the Tavern of the Taeguk Warriors, did a really great financial piece. If you haven't read that yet, it's up on their site. Highly recommend it. One of the things that he touched on was the funding from POSCO between Jeonnam and Pohang, their two teams. The Dragons get about 40% of that out of what POSCO spends on their team, so it's going to be really important for them to spend wisely this transfer. And they desperately need to spend that on defenders because last year they were a Class X punching bag and allowed 69 goals last year, which was easily the worst in the league. And some can't help but have a chuckle about it. Yeah. Tommy Marcella, the central back from Australia, he had a bit of an off year last year. I think that whole back line had an off year last year. But if they're going to improve, I think they need somebody to partner with him, or maybe they get another option. I don't know. I think he's worth having another shout.
And that's you done. Anything else? One sentence.
Wanderson, who used to play for Daejeon, is now there. He can play apparently anywhere on the field, but he is listed as a defender, so maybe that's where they'll get that help. So New Year's resolution for my beloved Jeonnam Dragons: don't get relegated. Don't get relegated.
That's
there you go.
Exactly what I've got. The screaming capitals: avoid relegation.
Yeah.
For me, it would be just to find a way of playing that isn't punting it up. Because
that'd be great.
I mean, obviously it was one game, but we saw that quite evidently in the Incheon game, the home game, when they were playing against 9 men and they couldn't find a way to break down 9 men and just aimless punts forward. And that was just one game, but you get the impression that they don't have a plan B and they don't really have a pattern of play. They've got a new manager now.
Yes.
So hopefully, for a Jeonnam perspective, it's a sign of it's the start of a new dawn. But yeah, No Sang-rae was someone that you weren't too fond of, let's just say.
We can leave it at that for now because we're on a bit of a timer. I don't think he had any clue how to organize a squad. And that game, it was just one game, but it was a microcosm of the Dragons' past 4 years with him in charge of just no idea what to do. Let's put the tallest guy in the field up front and hoof it to him.
Yeah.
And they put Tommy Marcella, a central back, as an attacker with a 2-man advantage. I don't want to talk about it anymore, so let's move on. Up next, and we had a question about Incheon come in from Tim Barnes online, so I think we'll get to that after.
Yeah, we'll
talk about it.
Every 2 teams, I think we'll check in.
So yeah, Paul is going to talk about Incheon United.
Yeah, notable incomings, none. They've signed nobody yet. I think that's down to the fact that their manager's new contract has still not been decided. The board wanted to put in some sort of stipulation where he had to win, I think it's either 4 or 6, I can't remember exactly the number, 4 games in the first 10. Otherwise, he would then be sacked. He didn't agree to that because I would agree it's a bit unfair. A team that have struggled for a good few years to then win 4 or even 5, 6 of the first 10 games of the season, it's a bit unrealistic. So that has perhaps hindered their transfer activity. They have lost Kim Do-hyuk to Asan on his military service, and Lee Sang-hyuk has gone to Sangju, and they've also lost Ha Chang-rae, their centre-back, has gone to Pohang. A good player. The fact that he's moved to Pohang is a testament to how good of a player that he is, because Pohang are, a big club, aren't they? Obviously, they won the most ACL championships. So far they haven't done much, but they need quite a lot, and they need a goal scorer. They amassed 32 goals in the league last year. That was the lowest. Even Gwangju got 33. Right, so their top scorer was Song Shi-hoo. He scored 5, and he was an impact sub.
I'm sorry. One more time. The top scorer had how many?
5.
Yeah.
He started from the 13 appearances that he made. He started a handful of those games, and he is a young boy anyway. He's very raw. They need a striker. Wesley, he got 2. Enzo got 1. Even Connor Chapman, the centre back, got 2 goals. Having kept him, that's like a good signing. Same with the Adrian Lay situation at Suwon FC. But they need a striker, and they need bodies in quickly. I know that the window's not been open very long, but they need signings.
Yeah, that should be done. Perfect.
And their New Year's resolution for you
is to stop going through the same cycle. They do the same thing every year. They have a really poor start, and then they manage to sort of get some results together, and they start playing football. We were at the Sangju game at home, and it was a very good game, second half especially, and they never seem to be able to capitalise on this enthusiasm and this like momentum. They end the season on a high, and it's back to square one again. They obviously have to rebuild the squad every year, which isn't ideal.
Yeah.
But the longer this managerial uncertainty looms over the head of the club, it's going to be hard for them to do that, but they need to try and find a way to continue that momentum from last year.
The fans stormed the field in 2016.
Yeah,
that was excitement.
Yeah.
Matt, what about for you?
Just keep holding on, and that's just, but that's not meant as in like it's meant with sympathy. There's not. It can't do anything about it. Well, they've got no money. The players are going, and they can't struggle to bring in high quality signings. But they've got a great stadium. They've got a passionate fan base. To lose them from the Classic would be a loss.
Would be a blow.
No matter what squad team rivalries, it'd be good to keep Incheon in there. So you can't help but feel sympathetic for them. But yeah, just keep holding on. There's nothing else you can say.
For me, hire a brilliant marketing department. That stadium is by far my favorite in the league. It's an amazing away day. It's amazingly easy to get to. You get right off of the train and you can see the stadium out of the train stop. It is tailor-made to be the destination in this league. Get someone to get people into those games.
They used to have one. You know, the guy Seoul Ilan do a lot of the stuff off the pitch, right? He used to work for Incheon.
Okay.
So they had a good marketing director.
Yeah.
But he's left.
Just
get it back.
If you're an Incheon fan, bring a friend to the game, buy him a beverage to get him into the gates. Do whatever you can, because that is...
It's a lovely stadium.
That is a place to see a game.
It
so
is.
that's where I'm at with them. And before we move on to Daegu, you had
quick check-in. So Tim, at the beginning of the video, he asked, who or what do Incheon need to survive?
Striker. They can't do anything without scoring goals. They have shown they can defend well.
Yeah.
When the back's against the walls, they've been able to battle out and grind out results. The Jeonnam game in particular,
right?
They had 9 men. They can defend. They just need to score goals, and they've struggled to find a striker for the past few years now. And it's not going to be easy, especially with, like I said, with all the uncertainty surrounding the manager's new contract. But that's, to me, absolute priority: finding a striker that can score 10 goals, because when you're in the bottom half,
double digits.
Because anything
in double digits.
Yeah, anything in the bottom half of the league, even 10 goals, it's like scoring 20 goals in the top half of the league. Because they count more almost for the teams that need the points.
Yeah, so. And I think for Incheon, There's no delusion of finishing top half even. Just avoid that relegation heap. And I agree. I think they are solid at the back, and they've got a pretty strong midfield as well. Just find someone to score some goals, and they'll be safe. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
And finally, there's quite a few comments, but Matt Lee just said, goal, get more sponsorship.
That'd be nice.
Find a way of generating some funds. Right.
Yeah, somebody must want to sponsor a team that's on the way from the airport into the capital city.
And it's a nice city as well. Songdo, we've been to Songdo.
That's
great, it's lovely.
This team is That's a really good shout, because I think if they were able to find something and just get a little bit more investment, this is a team that just really want to support them. Anyway, so moving up the table a little bit. Up next, we have the team that was back in Classic for the first time after winning the league in 2016. I say winning because it should have gone to the police squad, but that's another story. Anyway, Matt.
Okay, yeah, so Daegu, well, speaking of teams you just want to get behind, Daegu is one of these for me. They had such a good season last season. Their manager resigned early on. Andre took over. He's now the only foreign manager in the two divisions. But he just did it right. He played attacking football. He had 3 attacking Brazilians, and he played all 3 of them up front and just go for it. In goal, they've got Chocono in goal, who is a great up-and-coming keeper, some great performances. However, 2 of the 3 Brazilians they had last season, Evandro and Junior, have now moved to pastures new. Evandro has unfortunately signed for Seoul on a day that they probably should have waited a few days. So a lot of hatred going his way at the moment. Is this the replacement for Dane? He's probably not a replacement for Dane.
He won't play down the middle, I don't think.
No, but anyway, so Evandro, he's a good striker. He's a
good player,
and he's going to be missed. We're going to come to him later for Seoul, but he's going to be a miss for Daegu. Junior is also going to be a miss, but they managed to keep Cecina. Now, Cecina, I really like. I mean, you don't know how much I've said. I thought he's the K-League David Silva at points, but I've been told that I'm wrong, and I'm just looking at highlight reels, which is possibly very true. They brought in 2 new Brazilians before their departure. They had Caion, Caion.
We'll practice our Portuguese.
We will. And Jean.
Jean?
Yeah.
Billie Jean?
That one's easier.
So, yes. But not a lot to say about them.
Can't say that.
Caion had 7 appearances for Gangwon in 2009, and he scored 1 goal and 1 assist in that time. There's not a lot to be said about them. So I think they need a strike force. They didn't before the window. They do now. They need to replace those goals. They've got a good track record with signing Brazilians, and I think that will help them. But yeah, so probably a strike force. They also needed to bolster the defence a little, but they were doing well last season. They just need to work on what they've got.
And your New Year's resolution for them?
New Year's resolution for Daegu is just build on last year's strong performance. So you can't, if they were doing well, positive, you just keep building on them. There's no need to do anything drastic.
Mine would be for the manager, Andre, to show everybody else why hiring a foreign manager is not a bad thing. In fact, it can be a very good thing, as he proved with Daegu in the second half of the season. So
it's a really good shout.
Yeah.
And I think also, I don't think it's coincidental that he, a Brazilian manager, got the most out of his Brazilian players.
Exactly.
And so for a league, we joke about this a lot, but it honestly seems like K-League has a mandate that you have to have a Brazilian player on your roster.
If you want a striker or anybody who can play in the attacking third of the field, he must be Brazilian.
Yeah, that's a really good shot. I think it'd be interesting to see if he can do that, which leads into the resolution that I had, which is kind of a combination of both, which is take that next step. So Daegu, they earned promotion. Again, that can be debated. But they had a really strong season in Challenge. They got promoted. They avoided the relegation heap with a really strong finish to the season. So they've been building. So take that next step. Get into the top half of the table. Be a team that challenges the top teams in the league. And I think they could do that. But again, like you said, those departures are pretty significant.
It must have been hard for them to leave. Obviously, when you get offered a contract at FC Seoul, you can't really turn that down. But it must have been hard because they were enjoying their football under Andre.
I mean, I know we're beyond the time limit, but it's a point that Kaylee Kilt brought up on Twitter. They both of these were loans, so basically they're loan.
That's a really good point.
Their parent clubs are in Brazil, so they've just gone, okay, well now we'll loan you to Seoul and Ulsan because they're interested. So Daegu's made no money from this, and our columnist Muyal has also said the same thing. It's just Daegu's made these players and they get nothing for it. Well, I suppose they got survival, but
bit of a shame for them.
But that's transfers. That's the model of the league, unfortunately.
The nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
so moving on, and we'll touch base. I see there have been a couple more questions that came in, so we'll touch base after we talk about Pohang, which your notes may have changed a little bit for this, but Paul's going to talk about Pohang.
Yeah, I'm going to come to the outgoings in a little bit, but they, just like Daegu have, they've lost all their Brazilians. Well, not all of them. Linha, Moralia, and Wanderson all left. But they've been quite active in the transfer market so far. They have brought in Chico, who is a Korean Brazilian. He's a centre back who played for Eland in 2015. It's hard to sort of look at these people's CVs and be able to determine what kind of player they're going to be. But he's had quite not a journeyman career in Brazil, but he's played for quite a few clubs. He's played in Serie B. They brought in Ha Chang-rae, as I mentioned earlier, from Incheon, so he's a solid centre-back. They brought in another Brazilian defender, Almiao, who, from what I can see, has had another journeyman-type career in Brazil. They've also brought in a forward, Leo, who played in the Brazilian top flight, but his team were relegated last year. And they brought in an Australian midfielder, Olivier Bozanic, who played in the J1 League last year. He's a former Melbourne Victory player, played in Switzerland as well, and he actually started his career in the lower leagues of England, in Woking, Cheltenham Town and Aldershot Town. But he has won the A-League twice and the FFA Cup as well. So they've been very busy. It's hard for us to really determine whether these are going to be quality additions because we don't know. We have to hope that, for Pohang's sake, that their scouts know what they're doing. Judging by the Brazilians they had last year, we suggest that they do. But yeah, they've been very busy. I think they've kind of ticked most of the boxes that they would look to improve already in terms of their squad. They've signed players in midfield up front, but they've lost Yang Dong-hyun, as we touched on at the start of the show. Yeah, just today. He was rumoured to go to Japan midway through the season, and he was the highest scoring Korean player in the KLU last year. He is 32, 33 now, but he was unlucky not to get into the Korean national team, I thought, as I'm sure you all would have agreed. But he's a big loss. He when you lose a player who scored towards 20 goals, you need to replace that. And I'm sure now that they have lost him, they will go out and try and find someone to replace him. But for me, the New Year's resolution will be to do not get dragged into the relegation round of the split like they did last year. They had a good start, then they went on that awful run of form, dropped into the second half of the league, and then when the pressure was off, they started to play football again and were putting teams to the sword, like Incheon at home, 5-0. And then in the end, they finished rather comfortably because we did a show just before the start of the split, and I was quite worried that they might have been a team that would do a Songnam and just nosedive, but then they put together a good run of results and were more than comfortable. So my resolution: don't get involved in the bottom half of the split again, because for a club like Pohang with 5 league titles, 3 ACL titles, that's not good enough.
Yeah, have form that lasts more than half a season.
Yeah, I think I'll just piggyback on those and just say be decidedly in the top half. Because like you say, I think that's where Pohang traditionally should be. But then again, looking at the K-League Classic now, that's not an easy task.
No.
To be honest, I say that should be their resolution. I don't think they'll be able to achieve that, personally.
Thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, don't forget to like the video and click here to subscribe. Kim Jin-soo wants you to.